Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, in keeping with spring, which is now here in full blossom. Last week we had the pleasure of speaking with Bernie Carbo. Baseball is always spring always brings back baseball and childhood memories, and just like Southern Pines brings back childhood memories, and we've always said so many reasons why people move here is it reminds them of the towns they grew up in as kids, whether it be from New England, the Midwest, the metro New York area especially, where I'm from. Spring is also a great time to refocus on one of the iconic and greatest gifts that Southern Pines has, which is the Weymouth Center, which I remember when I first saw, I was a little intimidated. It sits back off Connecticut. It looks very exclusive. It creates curiosity in the minds of so many, especially with the changing demographics. Every year, if we talked about the Weymouth Center, we always would be addressing a new group of people moving into town who think it's a private club, that the grounds you can't just walk on your own. And we want to talk about, it's a special year, it's the 100th anniversary. We're going to be speaking with Executive Director Katie Wyatt, who has been on the show in the past, and the President of the Board of Directors for the Friends of Weymouth, Ashley Van Camp, who I didn't realize until we just started the show that you actually did grow up here as a child with your mom, Sue.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I've been here my whole life.
When I moved here in 99, I got to meet your mom and work with her a couple of times. She was very friendly with some very Lucretia Pinnock, some people that you know, who have just been wonderful supporters of the community. So you sort of picked up the baton.
Well, I certainly can't follow in her footsteps, but I try every day.
It's rare that you meet someone that's lived here all their lives. Katie, tell me, you've been on the past. You've been in Southern Pines for how long?
Just about 3.5 years. We moved here in 2018, summertime, when I was pregnant with my daughter, Petra, who's a little over 3.
Where'd you move from?
Now, from Raleigh. We were living in Oakwood, and I'm a military kid and a musician, and so have spent most of my life on the road. But I'm really happy to put down roots in Southern Pines.
Well, you have a big fan in Andrew Lyons.
Oh, that's nice.
Who, kudos to him, because he and Kirsten Foyles were on the show a few weeks ago talking about a project that First Bank is doing, and he got back up with me, and he didn't realize I had met you, but he called you a force of nature. Now, I don't know, how you take that. He meant it only as a compliment.
Yeah.
How long have you been the executive director at the Weymouth Center?
Not very long, only since August, so less than a year.
And how did that all come to be?
When I moved to Southern Pines, it was part of trying to find that home where we would raise our family and kids and be part of this community that becomes where everyone grew up. And finding that community, I just started looking for something closer to home, first to get involved in for my husband's passion for the arts. Aaron is a professor of jazz at UNC Pembroke, which has brought us to this area. So both being musicians, both being lovers of the arts and humanities, just wanted to get involved locally. And everyone said that Weymouth was the place with all of the most interesting culture events that were going on in Southern Pines. So I spoke with Katharine Talton, who was president of the board at the time.
Yep.
And just told her I was interested. My work at that time was in arts education. It was all about providing opportunities for kids through an equity movement in the arts called El Sistema. And it was all about making sure that every child in America, I was running a national association, had an instrument and music lessons and an opportunity to play in an orchestra, band, or choir. And that was the work. And so locally, I was looking for that thing that would provide arts and educational opportunities for my future family, and that place where I could go and experience great music, interesting ideas, be around people who were thinking about the arts and culture and how important they are in our society. And that's how I found a Weymouth.
Well, you hit a home run because you landed in the right spot.
Yes.
Ashley, since you've been here, I first came here in 79, moved here in 99. I've been fortunate to live in Weymouth all those years. I don't feel like I'm an owner in Weymouth. I feel like I'm a steward of the property. And the way Weymouth looked way back in 1979 to the way it looks today, the landscape has not changed. It's only improved, right? And that can't be said for a lot of areas in Moore County. And you probably have the best bird's eye view of that, way better than I would.
Weymouth is iconic, and it is, I like to call it the jewel in the crown of Southern Pines. But the way that it has shaped that neighborhood, and the way that people are keeping that neighborhood, you almost could feel like you've gone back in time. Now where you see so many new houses and whatnot being put up, Weymouth is still that quiet,
it's a privilege
beautiful
to live there.
neighborhood. It really is. But to your point of people driving by and thinking that it's a country club.
Oh my gosh.
So
I was a kid
wrong.
from Brooklyn. I
Yeah.
said, I'll never get in.
Right. So wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the most welcoming place.
Right.
It is open from dawn till dusk for anyone.
Right.
Pull up in your car and go walking. The house is open most weekdays. The North Carolina Literary Hall of Fame is right upstairs. It is a very inclusive, open place. It's just that so many people love it and take care of it. It's so beautiful that some people are like, oh, it's a club.
Right.
But it's not. It's just a community place.
People can actually rent the facility to use for business meetings, for private parties. And I don't know, the people who know Weymouth Center know all that, but there are a lot of people that don't. It's open to the public. My sister, who lives on the Upper West Side of New York, she comes down. First thing she wants to do when she gets here, she wants to walk with her brother on the grounds.
Yeah.
She loves, it's like if the Biltmore house had a baby.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it brings up in her mind, and she's got that beautiful bohemian mentality. I mean, she loves Southern Pines, and so the Weymouth Center is a destination for all.
Yeah. I think it's a good point, too, to compare it to these destination homes like Biltmore or others.
Right.
The difference being is that I feel like Weymouth is just as beautiful with no entry fee. There's, you don't have to pay to get in. Yeah.
So tell me how just big picture, how the Weymouth Center is funded, how you keep the building in such beautiful shape. You're going to cover a whole host of things that you do, and you're celebrating Weymouth Wonderful 100 in 2022. It's the 100-year anniversary of the Boyd House. With 100 events in 2022.
That's right.
Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
2 to 3 a week, Bill, for those who are
We're already up and
keeping
running.
count at home. Yes.
I had the privilege of working with the new owner of Inchaline.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I learned a lot about the history because you've got the Weymouth Center, you've got Weymouth Woods, and then you have Inchaline. I didn't realize that James Boyd had actually built that home for his mother, and they had used that property and part of Weymouth Woods for fox hunting. And then in 1924, I think, somewhere around there, he had 22, he built the home. And it stands up high on the hill. It's one of the most recognizable homes as you're driving down Connecticut, especially for our military friends who see this beautiful gentleman's horse farm.
Yeah,
and
with horses outside. And it's very
have you seen
beautiful.
the improvements?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It's beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous? So people can introduce themselves to Weymouth Center this year because you're going to have 100 reasons why.
Oh, yes. And I'd love to chat a bit about the funding. We're a 501c3 nonprofit.
Right.
And so that means that all of the funding that is necessary to keep Weymouth beautiful and put on all of these wonderful programs comes from the community. It comes from supporters and people who give generous contributions to help both keep the house restored, looking beautiful, being open and available for all people to enjoy, and putting on 100 arts and humanities events. And the Arts and Humanities series and programming was really established in the spirit of the Boyds, James Boyd and his wife, Katharine Boyd, their lifestyle. They were curious people. James Boyd was an author, a playwright, really an entrepreneur, really thought about different ways to inspire society through the arts and literature. Similar to Katharine Boyd, they also founded the Moore County Hounds, the equestrian center. They were very involved in conservation of the longleaf pine system and preserving the land to keep it beautiful and available for everyone.
Right.
And I think that same spirit is what lives on in the now nonprofit of Weymouth Center for the Arts and Humanities. So our funding comes through grants, but the overwhelming big chunk of our funding comes through people, individual people making contributions, becoming supporters. You can be a supporter of Weymouth for $50 or more per year. And it's essentially a membership where you receive discounts on tickets to all of our concerts and events. At Weymouth, you also get local discounts with partners, the Country Bookshop and Southern Way. And it's just a great way to make your gift to Weymouth. Similar, we think about being a sustainer or supporting something on an ongoing basis. It's a way to make your gift to Weymouth to make sure that not only are we celebrating 100 years of the Boyd House this year, 1922 to 2022, but our gifts will make sure that it's there for another 100 years, so that in 3022, can you imagine? I can't even really imagine those numbers. 3022. Yeah. We're celebrating the next 100 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. People, when new people come into town and they're new to Southern Pines, we drive them through Weymouth. We drive them past the Weymouth Center. They all remark about the beautiful parks that are available, and a lot of that emanated from contributions that the Boyd family made.
Oh, definitely.
Of all the land.
Yes.
And there's so much as Weymouth in this area. And Weymouth, the name Weymouth, came from England. It was a town in Weymouth, England that the Boyds were inspired by, and so named their home and their land after it. And it's how we came to have Weymouth Woods and the Weymouth Center and Weymouth Heights. so many things after that place.
How is it coming off last year of COVID? It affected everybody. Everyone feels like they have a fresh start right now. It had to be hard, but you're back at full throttle. I'm assuming in between the lines.
We're getting there. It was a tough time, especially when you are running a center that is really based a lot on having people come there for events and celebrations, and a lot of people weren't doing those things. So I think we pivoted really well.
People use that word pivot in the last year more than ever.
I know it is now really part of our vocabulary.
That's right.
But really to keep going, we all had to. Whether it was our business or in our home. I mean, we were changing every day, looking for ways to stay relevant, to stay in the spotlight, to stay, something important that people want to, support. So a lot of our programming went outside, online. I mean, just, really any way that we could, keep going with events. We did some Zoom parties and pivoting. And, I think we're now coming to a place where, fingers crossed, people are feeling more comfortable coming out, being inside with people, unmasked. And, we've been very careful during this whole time to keep people safe. But we feel now that we're ready to open up the doors and say, come on in and let's show you our beautiful home that's 100 years old.
That's right. We I'm working with a client right now that they've come down and they're purchasing a new home, and they're from Connecticut. She's a retired school teacher. He is a retiring financial planner. One of the questions we get a lot has to do with the culture. What does Southern Pines, the Pinehurst, Moore County offer compared to, more urban areas? And we love the question. And it's we always tell people it's on a smaller but a much more intimate scale, where you get to meet people very quickly and network very quickly. But what do you tell people who are coming into town who have those concerns?
I can say from my experience being new to Southern Pines and also being a young parent and finding the young families community here has been remarkable. I feel like we're very lucky to have a combination of the military community that is here, a lot of young, families in their 30s and 40s with young kids, plus the community that has lived here all of their lives and are very devoted and have long memories of how things were and how things, the things that they love and enjoy. And so I think Southern Pines has become, the Moore County area has become this interesting melting pot of people with a lot of new ideas and things that they want to see or change or adapt from other places that they've been, having traveled, around the world, and then families who are from here and really want to keep a lot of the things that have made Southern Pines and Aberdeen and Pinehurst really unique and special. And so I think having that chemistry, I think, makes for a really interesting place. You can have, important debates, I think, about what is important about what we keep and what is important about what we change. But it makes for a really interesting place to live. You can get the best of both worlds.
Right. Weymouth we're going to be mentioning the word Weymouth a lot during the show. It is worth mentioning. And as I said, I feel privileged to be there. And everyone who lives in Weymouth loves it. There's a subculture also of preserving and improving. Not changing, improving what is already there. And there's a pride that people have, and you feel it in the air. We're going to come back in the second set. Want to talk about some of the specific events that are coming up this year. And so hang in there with me. This is All Things Moore County. The Weymouth Center is our topic of conversation for the entire hour. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. We're talking all about the Weymouth Center today. It is the 100-year anniversary of the Boyd House. The Weymouth Center has 100 events planned in 2022, and the Weymouth Center is one of the gifts of Moore County. Certainly it's a gift to Southern Pines, and it marks the cultural, the footprint of Southern Pines. Katie, when you first came here, did you come here as a musician? Was that the first time you saw the Weymouth Center? How did you become acquainted with it?
Honestly, it is because I actually came to the Weymouth Center for the first time because I was hired to play in a string quartet for a wedding
Is that
in the early 2000s. So I came down to visit at that time
from
Raleigh, not having any idea about the Weymouth Center at the time.
Do you remember that first visit? What were your impressions?
Oh gosh,
the setting.
I couldn't believe it was free. I remember that. I remember that I couldn't believe there wasn't a gate, like a arm bar that you would go by, and I couldn't believe that you could just park and like walk around and enjoy the gardens. As a musician, I got there a little bit early, got set up, all those things. We got to see inside the house as the bride and their family were getting ready, and then had the wedding in the garden.
Funny you mention that, because I think I've attended from a distance right across the street maybe 100 weddings over the years, because you have them, especially in the warm weather, outdoor weddings, musical events. The sounds of Weymouth always spread through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And you can hear the sometimes the rock and roll, sometimes classical, sometimes oldies, whatever. But you're always planning events. Now you guys are also marketing to 5 different generations of people.
True.
Good
Yes.
luck with that.
Yeah.
So
Primary.
how do you pick and prioritize?
Yeah.
Right?
I'll let you talk about that.
I think it's finding those events that appeal to a broad audience. So COVID, actually, the innovation moments of COVID included a lot of programming that we put outside. And during a period, and it's interesting how this has continued, that having everything, all meals in boxes and like prepackaged and ready to go, being able to continue with events outside and pairing that with prepackaged meals is how a new series called the Come Sunday Jazz Brunch was born. Come Sunday is a jazz brunch series that's named for Duke Ellington's Come Sunday, and it's the last Sunday of the month, and it's outside. And we partner with local restaurants to offer a Sunday brunch and mimosas and Bloody Marys, of course, and your brunch beverage of choice, where you can come, you can buy the brunch in advance, or you can bring your own food and drink and chairs to Weymouth. It's a sit outside. We have some amazing artists coming up this year, including Shauna Tucker is at the end of March. So if you're listening to this next weekend, Shauna Tucker is coming up on Sunday, March 27th. And then after that is Leroy Jones, April 24th, and that's presented in partnership with UNC Pembroke. And Leroy Jones is one of those very special artists, and Weymouth is making this possible through this partnership with UNCP. But he's one of those artists that appear at Carnegie Hall, in Chicago, in the Blue Note, all in Preservation Hall in New Orleans. He's a really big deal. So I would encourage folks to come out. That level of artist is special when we bring them to town. Jazz trumpeter from New Orleans and became famous playing with the Harry Connick Jr. band. And after that is Peter Lamb and the Wolves, end of May. Local favorite, but they play a lot at the North Carolina Museum of Art, and they're a very popular Raleigh, 7-piece, big brass band, jazz band. But those outdoor series plus meals are also really have been embraced by the Women of Weymouth. The Women of Weymouth is a very important volunteer arm of Weymouth, and they began as essentially an auxiliary group to support the activities of Weymouth and to help cover the cost of what it takes to keep Weymouth beautiful and open to the public. So their events are generally fundraisers over the course of the year, and I'd say they have about one per month. And in the spring coming up, we have a strawberry festival, which is open to the public, and you can come and join the Women of Weymouth. And then, of course, in May, there's Ladies Wine Out, which is really super fun to bring your girlfriends and your mom and your kids if you want to. It's outdoors, and it's a really fun event. But those are the Women of Weymouth events are generally food plus community outdoors, all to help raise money for Weymouth.
I don't even know why you needed a pad and a pen. Everything she's saying is just off the hip.
It is,
right?
It is. Well, she does it every day.
Yeah.
She is very invested in future of Weymouth.
Yeah. One of the things Ashley is helping to create is a new educational program at Weymouth, which is linked to the history of the Boyds and the equestrian life of Moore County. And that's a new education program called Weymouth Equestrians.
Yeah, we're really excited about Weymouth Equestrians. I think it was kind of a piece that was missing at Weymouth. The Boyds, of course, are known for, the arts and the humanities, but there's a third leg to that stool, and that's equestrian. They began the Moore County Hounds.
Right.
They always had horses. They were, avid horse people. They really have such they were really the reason why we have so much open space in our community. Right. Because they were buying that land so that not only to preserve the longleaf pine, but to be able to fox hunt and ride. And because of that, we have, Weymouth Woods and the legacy, keeps going down, to the 4,000 acres of the Walthour-Moss Foundation. So we have to thank the Boyds for our really beautiful, neighborhood and neck of the woods, because it was with their foresight that we have these open spaces. So the horse part of Weymouth was kind of missing. We have the beautiful old barn that had been rented out just privately.
That's right.
For years. But I think we felt that Weymouth needed to have a program that it was running that used the barn and brought horses to a larger community. So a thought I had for many years was, someday I'd love to have a program that would bring horses to kids who can't afford it, to kids who just are not growing up in a, environment where that's even a possibility, to be able to ride or even to be able to be around a horse. Because I grew up in Southern Pines and I lived at the barn, and I just know all the wonderful things it taught me. Mm-hmm. Responsibility, work ethic, how to get along with people, caring of animals. And my son is an equestrian, and just seeing what that has brought to him his whole life.
Right.
And it needs to be an option for all kids who have that passion, because I don't know if you know anybody with the horse fever, but once you have it, it's strong. So we want a place where kids can say, hey, I want that opportunity. I want that option. I want to be able to come and maybe I only want to, just be around a horse. Maybe I don't even want to ride. But horses are such wonderful therapy, whether you're sitting on it or just burying your face in their neck. But we want kids to learn about horses, about feeding, caring, grooming, about the farrier, about when the dentist comes, about when the vet comes. How do you take care of a horse? Right. There's a big, our community is so horse-based that also is, another opportunity for summer jobs for these kids once they learn a lot about horses. But so we want to bring this to kids who may not be able to afford that.
So you're right on target. We have a friend, a young boy. He's a third grader. His mom, a single mom, doesn't have a ton of ways and means. Very bright. Not loving sports. And Nicola knows who I'm talking about. And we got him some horse lessons. Mm. And he goes every Thursday afternoon, only 30 minutes, right? He's the only boy in the group. Mm-hmm. And I had dinner with his family the other day, and he was sitting there playing his Nintendo. Wouldn't even look up. And I said to him, I understand you're not a fan of basketball because one of his friends is, and he just can't get into it. I said, but how are the horse lessons going, Ja? Oh, I love it. He just, boom. He looks forward to doing it. It's expensive. Mm-hmm. It's not inexpensive. And, but it opened up a whole new world for him. And you talk about the caring of the horse. That's what he talked about. It wasn't just riding. Right. It was the responsibility of what goes into it. Mm-hmm. Kids learn responsibility that way. They do. So you're right on target. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're very excited to start this program. It is a program we've been working on for a long time, and then COVID happened and it got put on the back burner. But we are going to do an event on May 7th. It's a Derby Day event. Barbecue, bluegrass, and bourbon, and we will watch the Kentucky Derby. We'll have mint juleps. We'll have Parker's Barbecue from Wilson, North Carolina, all to raise money to get this program started in the fall.
Great. Your comments in this set to talk about the Boyds, to give people who live here a greater appreciation of their contributions, is no different than some of the art students, the music students we've had on in the past, where not every student is going to go on to be musician or an artist, but they'll have ingrained in them an appreciation of the arts, and that's how you preserve what is so important, and that's from the ground up.
Exactly.
Let's come back in the third set. The Weymouth Center is our topic of discussion all day. Could have a show with the Weymouth Center every month as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our third and final set. We're talking with Executive Director Katie Wyatt and President of the Board of Directors for the Friends of Weymouth, Ashley Van Camp, talking all about the 100-year anniversary of the Boyd home and giving us some updated information about what the Weymouth Center is and what it's not, and introducing it to a whole new group of people as there's so much movement, people coming into Moore County. The website is fantastic. As a matter of fact, I have to compliment the artist, whoever put this page together with these
Let's
colors.
Give credit where credit is
Yes.
due. Those are two very special women, Marilyn Barrett and Andy Rose.
I mean, those colors, that is so intuitive and user-friendly. I just want to, when I saw that, I said, wow, it's amazing that just a page like that could be so impressive.
Yeah.
Covering the historic house, gardens, and grounds, the youth and family, performing arts, arts and humanities, community and special events, and something you want to talk about, the literary department as well.
Yes. So Weymouth Center for the Arts and Humanities is also home to the North Carolina Literary Hall of Fame. It is a state collection of authors who have been recognized for their great works over the course of time, and they're inducted every 2 years in a big ceremony every October. And we partner, this collaborative was created by a former owner of the Pilot, Sam Reagan. So we also have to go back to James Boyd and Katharine Boyd's time. In addition to being great writers, playwrights, equestrians, conservationists, entrepreneurs, they also owned the Pilot. They were newspaper owners. James Boyd owned it much more briefly than his wife, Katharine Boyd, owned it, actually, because he died prematurely. And his wife, Katharine, took over the newspaper. Very rare for a woman to be a newspaper owner at that time, and did that for a significant part of her life. The paper was then eventually passed on to North Carolina Poet Laureate Sam Reagan, who in his vision as a preservationist of literature and kind of a culture creator, helped create the North Carolina Literary Hall of Fame, which is both a place at Weymouth where the portraits of the award winners are collected along with their works, so you can come and read about all of the nominees into the center, the Hall of Fame, as well as a process by which North Carolina authors are recognized for their work. The collaboration is between UNC Chapel Hill Center for the Book, North Carolina Humanities Council, and the North Carolina Writers Network. And Weymouth is the place in that kind of four-pronged collaboration. So please, when you come visit Weymouth, visit the North Carolina Literary Hall of Fame. The Boyd House, is also home to the North Carolina Poetry Society, also linked to Sam Reagan, this poet laureate. Sam was also the founder and creator of the Friends of Weymouth. Sam really helped. There was a period of time when the Boyd House was in great disrepair, had been sold to, not sold, actually Katharine Boyd gifted the house to Sandhills Community College. It was used by the community college for a few years for nursing.
Yeah.
And then was purchased back by a group of passionate people who wanted the house and gardens and grounds to be preserved for historic use related to the lives of the Boyds, and bringing back the spirit of the arts and humanities to the Weymouth Center. And Sam Reagan really led that charge. So connecting the Literary Hall of Fame, the North Carolina Poetry Society, and Sam Reagan, one of the great projects that James Boyd and other authors, activists, writers became involved in was something called the Free Company. And the Free Company was assembled during World War II in response to a call from NBC to authors, writers to produce works celebrating freedom in response to the Nazi and communist propaganda that was coming as a result of World War II all around the world. And James Boyd answered the call, said, I would love to work on this together. The name Free Company comes from everyone donating their services, and that includes the audio engineers, the playwrights, the actors. NBC donated their services. And the Free Company radio plays were a series of 12 radio plays by James Boyd and also by noted authors, writers, including one that we are going to be presenting as part of our 100-year celebration event, which we're calling the Weymouth Wonderful 100 celebration of some sort. We actually haven't come up with like the final title, but it is our big celebration event in which it's the big fundraiser to support all of the 100-year activities and centennial celebration of the Boyd House.
Right.
And the main feature of that event is going to be a production of Orson Welles' radio play, His Honor the Mayor, which is about a Texas border town and the concepts and questions and issues of freedom and recognition and civil liberties that come up in that town.
And when is that going to be?
October 14th.
We have time.
Good. Get your tickets. We'll have tickets available soon. You know, the night will be a celebration of the year. It'll be almost at the end of the year. It'll be celebrating the anniversary of the house, the culmination of 100 events, and also really celebrating the spirit of community gathering at Weymouth around this play and performance.
For the formation of the Free Company, who do you know who were some of the other authors and writers who were called to arms who contributed? Do we know?
We do, yes.
Okay.
So Paul Green, Sherwood Anderson, F. Scott Fitzgerald, even Ernest Hemingway was called upon to produce one. I don't think that the Hemingway piece made it into the final 12, but very famous writers and playwrights at the time.
Wow. James Boyd did a lot to put Southern Pines on the map.
Amen. Yes.
Didn't he?
Yes.
When you look back, he started in 1920, 21.
The house. So
house.
the house was completed in 1922.
The way he lived his life, he became a benefactor to Southern Pines that to this day, and that's what's worth preserving, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I mean, our neighborhood and our little town would not look as it looks now if it weren't for the Boyds and their foresight and their love of nature and the arts.
I've lived here for 22 years. I got invited to go to a wedding of an old friend in Atlanta back in December. I said, I'm going to drive down. I've lived here. It's like living on a game board.
Yeah.
You forget. You get spoiled. I went down to this wedding. I stayed in a hotel, went to the wedding into suburban, right into the heart of Atlanta. I got home. I felt like I had just got out of a NutriBullet. Food processor.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to come home. It never looked so beautiful, peaceful. And we take it for granted because we live here every day.
That's true.
All you have to do is, I don't know how people live there. Yeah. They come here and there's a peacefulness, there's a civility that is unlike anything else. I mean, it's like the greatest place to live. We take it for granted. If we complain at red lights, it's our fault.
Yeah.
Right? Do you ever get mad? Oh my God, the traffic's so bad today.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah. We're very lucky.
Huh?
We're very lucky.
People love the nickel tours we give them of Southern Pines, and it's always centered around the town and going east, coming up to the Weymouth Center and the surrounding areas. They think that they died and went to heaven, and it's got that strong New England charm, and people are drawn in, and it's like a wrapped gift, and the Weymouth Center is the bow.
Yeah.
I like that.
On the package.
And that's a beautiful segue into something I'd like to hit on too is the garden. You know, our gardens are
beautiful.
So phenomenal, and especially now. I mean, we've had the daffodils, and now other things are starting to bloom, and it's there for everyone to go and walk and stroll
have
and
pictures
sit
taken. Bring
and
a photographer
read
with you
and bring a picnic. and you know.
Right.
It's free, dawn till dusk. And I do want to do a little shout out for our dirt gardeners, because it would not look like it looks without our volunteer gardeners.
Yeah.
And
the
the
other thing that
time.
surprised me, actually, I remember coming to Weymouth, looking around, and I was like, oh, this is all maintained by like professional groundskeepers. No, it is 100% maintained by volunteers.
Yeah. The terminology I always use about the Weymouth Center, they're hallowed grounds, and the pride of that property it's so evident. And I've seen families go out there with their professional photographers shooting family photos, wedding pictures. It's like they don't have to pay a cover charge to get in.
Right.
People discount that, and it's just such a great value, and it's just a great gift to the community.
Yeah.
If people want to go onto your website, tell me what they're going to see, because we're winding down, and I want to give them the website. It's a very beautifully put together site. I'm loving the colors.
Good.
On some
Thank
of these.
you.
Yeah.
But like I said, we have to give credit to two incredible volunteers, Marilyn Barrett and Andy Rose. Marilyn is a retired advertising executive who moved to this area and is on the board of directors. And Andy Rose is creator of the Pine Straw magazine with the pilot. And it's just been an amazing transformation and partnership. Definitely one of those transformative moments where new ideas come into the fore and help something that has been very established for a long time look and feel like it's something new again. So we're really excited about it too. When you go to our website, weymouthcenter.org, you'll see the event calendar with 100 events per year. We've been joking internally and here today that that's 2 to 3 per week. So if you're looking for something to do on the weekend or on a weeknight, odds are good that there's an event going on at the Weymouth Center. And those events are musical, they're poetry readings. We're celebrating all of April. The month of poetry is National Poetry Month. And so we're doing poetry by the pond readings, informal readings. You can come to a poetry slam at the end of the month, April 20th. So lots of literary, arts and humanities. We just concluded a really important speakers series on the creation of the North Carolina Freedom Park. So it's not just anything. It's music and the humanities and literature and poetry and food and gardening and equestrian life. It's really a center.
Something for everyone.
Something for everyone. It's really a community center.
We
Yes.
didn't get a chance to talk about the Weymouth Center's relationship to the children.
Oh,
to
yes.
the kids.
Thank you.
And
Good.
that's very important.
Yeah.
And we're winding down, but can you talk a little bit about some of the writers' camps, the kids' camps?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have 2 summer camps. One is called Art Start, and the other is, Smart Start and Write On, Writers Camp. And one camp is a literature camp, and the other is a visual arts camp. And the visual arts camp includes all medium of visual arts, and the literature camp is many mediums of literature as well. Poetry. They had to write an ad last year, and so they would stand up and do their commercial that they wrote about whatever they had seen in the garden. And so 2 youth camps, and then we're also, as part of Weymouth Wonderful 100, just launching a bunch of family-friendly events. The Come Sunday Jazz series is a great one for families and kids. And then also we'll be launching a Saturday morning family series starting this summer.
I encourage anybody who has moved here, who is not familiar with the Weymouth Center, to get over there, introduce yourself. The participation to support Weymouth between $50 and $250. There are lots of different incentives, but most importantly, you're doing something to protect and preserve the community, and it is a community worth preserving and protecting. It's an honor to call it home, and it's a gift to everybody who lives in Southern Pines. 2022 is going to be a busy year.
Yes.
Come back and we'll schedule you again. You can bring us up to date. We can't do 100 shows. We can do maybe one for every 6 events you have, but you guys are going to be very busy this year.
Yeah.
Ashley Van Camp, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Bill.
Katie White, it was a pleasure. Best of luck in 2022.
Thank you.
This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week. Thank you.